Hey everybody, I am Trevor.
I'm Vincent.
And we are the Anthony and Todd Show, and today we're going to be taking a look at the latest Little Simz record, Gray Area. Gray's in all caps.
Yeah.
Little Simz is kind of an eclectic artist. She's worked with a lot of different people. She worked with Gorillaz last year, or 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
On that one Garage track.
Yeah, Garage? Was it Garage or was it Garbage? I can't remember.
This is like the Mandela effect. I can't remember.
Little Simz doesn't exist.
She doesn't exist. But Gray Area is her fourth studio album. It's pretty short, and as Vincent describes, it is kind of like the female DiCaprio 2.
Yeah, it's like JAD's DiCaprio too, because I don't know, I was just really surprised by it, and it's very bold and punchy. That's all you need to know.
She's kind of been playing a background character for a while.
Yeah,
she hasn't really been doing anything that has been super groundbreaking. Like I said, this is like her fourth record, and this is really the first one that I've listened to all the way through, and it's been like, it was worth my time.
Yeah, this is my first experience with her in like a solo album form. And I was really surprised because I didn't know what to expect. I heard that Gorillaz track last year or 2 years ago, and I enjoyed it, but I just didn't know what to expect from it.
Yeah.
And going to this straight off the bat with Offence, she comes through my speakers and smashes everything in my room to pieces, and I'm left not only in shock but in pure tears and amazement because she's such a technical artist, and like that came through the fact that you have these fantastic keys and strings in the background that it's like she comes off as like kind of grime-esque, but it isn't grime. It has like the charisma and the attitude,
like, cadence and the aggression of grime,
but it doesn't have any of the production.
She's not British, so it's not grime. Can't do the time, don't do the grime.
Jesus Christ. But yeah, you get into Offence and she seems like she's taking no prisoners on the track. Then you go into Boss, which is more distorted and dark, but it's still like it shifts the attitude a bit, so it's not in the same setting or location, but it's still taking no prisoners while still keeping up the momentum, while not being like too much of the same thing over again. Then you get into Selfish, which is more soulful.
That was a single.
Yeah, the single came out last month.
I kind of think it threw me off as well.
Yeah.
Because, like, this is not what the entire record sounds like.
Yeah. It's soulful, and I like how she uses the features on this record. There's only 3 of them, there's 4 of them. And each of them play a role to almost counteract herself, which is nice because none of them are here to be super punchy. They're meant to be soulful to match her almost kind of like nasally hype of sorts.
It puts more of a melody behind what she's doing.
Yeah, and it adds a different atmosphere too. Like Cleo Soul and Chronic and Little Dragon are completely different sounds from her. Like it's just a completely different atmosphere and environment, which is nice because for like Little Dragon on Pressure, it's just a completely different world we're entering. And especially after going halfway through an album, you need that little space. Especially if you're trying to go this hard and intense, but it's also adding these like nice little performances, and I like how I forget the man of Little Dragon. I don't know his name.
I don't.
Yeah. But he actually has a nice performance on it, and it adds it's this like little surprise moment of like, oh, this is double what I was not expecting because I forget he exists most of the time.
Yeah, the female takes more of a
center stage. Yeah. But then we get moments like Venom, which starts off with like these almost like 60 horror film like strings that build up to this eclectic moment, and then they go into these jazz hi-hats which are fantastic. This like very simplistic beat. She is still being punchy and technical, but in this new environment.
Yeah, it's definitely better than Eminem's Venom.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the hook of it. I just know it's terrible.
Yeah, we don't want to.
Is it Venom? Venom.
Get on. Yeah, it's really bad.
Yeah. You get moments like the more tender wounds where she's kind of going through this all more arcing narrative of kind of like talking about society and how essentially, in one sense, we're all kind of like lost in the world and how we're attempting to find ourselves. But the only true way to solve this is kind of believing in ourselves and making sure we understand ourselves, which is really nice. And this kind of overarching theme that's touched upon this therapy, and also the last track, Flowers, where she talks more about just kind of how society is just poor, especially with not only being female but also being black.
Yeah.
And how any one of that skin tone is usually in the minority, especially in today's culture.
Sure.
Moments like 101 FFM has this like Eastern feel, with like Eastern instrumentation. And
Yeah, it's
strings.
almost like it's tuned to the Eastern systems.
Yeah.
Almost. The Eastern scales.
Very nostalgic. Shows that side of her roots and coming up in the scene. I'm gonna try to say this right. You ready? The track Flowers with Michael I never passed third grade, so I can't pronounce anything. Trevor, have at it, boy.
Michael Kiwanuka.
Yeah, those are words that could come out of my mouth if I learned how to read, but I didn't. But I feel like someday I will pass the third grade, but that day is not today. But yeah, I found his performance to be one of the more harder and tender moments, almost like thriller at the same time.
This reminded me a lot of his last record, Love and Hate, which I really enjoyed. It's really a slow burn, long, like soul album. And he is just so dark and smoky across the whole record. I really like his voice.
I kind of found it like faded in sorts. Like it's like you're looking at like an old photograph and it kind of gets like discolored as time goes on.
He's incredibly like you said, like faded and smoky. I love his voice. It's like that perfect amount of like rasp mixed with like a lot of soul. And he's a relatively like younger guy.
Yeah.
He's not super old, but he's got that old sound down pat. And I think his feature on Flowers it's my favorite on the record. I'm really glad to hear from him again because he hasn't put anything out for a little while. But I love the way that he counteracts Little Simz.
Yeah, because his voice sets up that environment for the harsh subject she's talking on that track. Yeah. So it's a perfect match.
It's almost like having your own soul sample live.
Yeah. I just found it to be like the perfect environment where you're talking about the most harshest subjects to date on your album. But yeah, this is one of the most surprising things all year to me.
Yes.
I wasn't expecting this. I knew Little Simz had talent from the one track I've heard from her before, but like I didn't know like I was expecting this. Like the way she's able to be as technical across the entire thing, give us a pretty like almost A$AP Rock in a form where she really doesn't switch up her voice, but on this, she's able to switch up her environment, and that's what makes her so special.
Yeah.
Because she's able to know her own weaknesses at times and her own faults, but she's able to continue that with...
Yeah, her expression is through her environment and not exactly like the way that she inflects her voice or anything. But I think it definitely like works for her.
Yeah.
Some artists, it just doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
I've got notes next week for Blue and Oh No where that like doesn't work. But there are some artists where like it... definitely can work to change the world around you. If you can't change yourself, change everything around you.
Yeah.
And it'll make you sound different.
Yeah.
She's got that down really well, I think.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this record. The fact that I was able to remember so many pieces of individual and just able to rattle them off my head, I think proves that. But yeah, I recommend this record highly. I feel like a lot of people are going to be sleeping on this, and they shouldn't be.
I definitely think so.
Well, you shouldn't be sleeping on Little Simz like I was until this time period, because I think she's an artist to be proven wrong at this point. I'm really excited, and I hope she gets in a rap battle with JID, because I think that would just be cool. But yeah, until next time, guys, I've been Vincent.
I'm Trevor.
And see you, boy.
Bye, everybody.